All right, let's talk about one of the wildest brand experiments we've seen in a while, Tesla's super ambitious and, well, surprisingly bumpy ride into the restaurant world.
So, the grand opening was an absolute viral smash. You had lines around the block, your social media feed was just flooded with it. By every single metric, it looks like a massive, massive success. And then, poof. Just weeks later, they slashed the menu to the bone. That's the real mystery we're digging into today. What on earth happened behind the scenes?
To get why it all got so chaotic, you first have to understand the vision. See, this was never meant to be just another diner. It was designed to be a slice of the future, served up right now.
And this idea has been in the oven for a long time, you know? It all started with a simple tweet from Elon Musk way back in 2018. But after a 7-year wait, the big LA opening was followed by this huge pivot just 1 month later. This timeline really shows you just how fast that dream slammed into reality.
And this just shows you the sheer scale of what they were trying to do. We're talking about a massive 2-story restaurant that can seat 250 people. Supercharger stations? Of course, that's a given. But then they added 2 drive-in movie screens, service from actual Optimus robots alongside humans on roller skates, and your food gets delivered in a little Cybertruck box. This wasn't a restaurant. It was meant to be a full-on experience. So with a concept thought over the top, the public reaction was, you can guess, immediate and pretty intense. The launch basically created a perfect storm of hype, demand, and ultimately chaos. The second those doors opened, it just exploded online. TikTok, Instagram, everyone flooded the place. It wasn't just somewhere you went to eat. It became a destination, a content factory. The hype machine was cranked to 11. And here's the official line from the chef, Eric Greenspan. He's framing this menu change not as a mistake, but as a reaction to being too successful. That phrase, unprecedented demand, is key. It's their way of saying they were basically a victim of their own popularity.
So, if you were just looking from the outside, everything seemed incredible. The buzz was deafening, the crowds were huge. It really looked like Tesla had done it again, walked into a whole new industry and disrupted it with a bold vision people just couldn't get enough of.
But yeah, that was just the surface. Behind that shiny, retro-futuristic facade, a very, very different story was playing out.
Right, so while all the influencers were posting their perfect shots of the Cybertruck boxes, the actual kitchen staff was completely in the weeds, just battling some really fundamental problems.
And it wasn't one single thing. It was more like death by 1,000 cuts. All the classic, totally unglamorous problems of running a restaurant. You know, suppliers running late, equipment breaking down, certain dishes just taking way too long to make. All of that just multiplied by an insane number of orders. Turns out, even a company that builds spaceships has to deal with the gritty reality of food service. You can't beta test a hamburger. This whole situation boils down to a concept called operational friction. It's basically that gap between the brilliant idea you have on a whiteboard and the messy, complicated day-to-day grind of actually making it happen over and over again. And Tesla's diner ran straight into a wall of it. And all that friction led to a pretty dramatic decision. To survive, they had to simplify. And boy, did they simplify. I mean, just look at this. This slide really tells the story. They went from a full-service menu down to 5 sandwiches and 2 sides. All-day breakfast? Nope, mornings only now. Those cool fountain drinks? Gone, replaced by a few standard sodas. Even dessert got cut down to just 2 kinds of pie and shakes. It is a massive, massive change. And to make it even more real, look at the specific things that got the axe. The epic bacon you could order by itself? Gone. Hash brown bites, the club sandwich, the veggie burger, all cut. Those fun retro drinks like Shirley Temples and creamsicles? Nope. They didn't just trim the edges. They cut right into the stuff people were already buzzing about online. So where does this all leave that grand vision of a global chain of Tesla diners? Well, the ambition is definitely still there, but it's now being hit with a tough lesson learned right at home. And here's the context that makes this whole thing so fascinating. Elon Musk tweeted this about going global on July 21st. Just a few weeks later, they're gutting the menu at their very first restaurant. It's just such a stark contrast between that long-term vision and the short-term reality. Now, it's not all doom and gloom.
The chef has hinted that this stripped-down menu might not be the final version. He's mentioned that some of those fan favorites, like the biscuits and soft-serve ice cream, could pop up again as specials once they get their operations under control. So the menu is, in his words, forever evolving.
And really, that leaves us with the million-dollar question. Is this just a temporary speed bump? You know, the kind of kinks any new business has to work out before they take over the world? Or does this show us something deeper? That some old-school industries, like the incredibly complex high-pressure restaurant business, are just a lot harder to disrupt than the tech world might think? It's a fascinating test case, and you can bet we'll all be watching to see what they decide to serve up next.